Well, hey, I'm Josh. I'm the lead pastor at Rehope Belfast, and today I just want to bring a really short message to you titled Looking Back to Looking Forward. And I'm sure each of you at some point in your life have faced a point in time where life has changed, where something has radically altered. Maybe you've changed school, maybe you've moved city, maybe something has changed in your life which has altered the trajectory of where you're going and who you are maybe becoming. Maybe you had a change in your family situation. I don't know what life has looked like for you. There's a story I want to share, from when I was 10. And I remember being sat down by my parents when I was 10 years old and told, Josh, we're going to be moving. And I lived in England, on the south coast of England at the time, and we were going to be moving over 200 miles to another city. As a 10-year-old, to be told that, I was devastated. Like, what is life going to look like? Who am I going to be friends with? I had to change everything about who I was. And I remember, getting in the car and driving all that way to this new place that I was going to live. And it was hard, it was different. And I remember for a long time feeling really, really sad. And there was a few times when me and my brother's 2 years younger than me, we would sit down and we would have conversations which was like, I wish we could go back. I wish we could go back to where we used to live. I wish we could do what we used to do and go to the places we used to go and play for the football team that we used to play for and just do life the same. There's a story we find in the Bible of this guy called Moses. And you've probably heard of him. He was this amazing guy who had this encounter with God in a burning bush. He was just out doing his normal job of looking after the sheep in the field, and out of the corner of his eye he saw this bush on fire. And so he went towards it, and out of the bush came this voice. So I haven't got the time right now to go into the details of the story, but what a crazy situation. This shepherd man, this humble guy, just finds a bush burning, and then not only does the bush burn, but the bush talks to him. And then the bush tells him, I have a plan, I have a mission for you, and you're to go. You see, there was a group of people called the Israelites. And they were under slavery and in the place of bondage to this Pharaoh, this king of Egypt. And Moses was given this plan and this decree that you are going to be the one to go and set my people free. This is a crazy moment. But a long story short, and a number of miraculous moments later, we find that Moses, lo and behold, is the one who does lead the people out of Egypt. That he is the one who leads them towards the promised land. This land, as the scripture tells us, is a place that is a land flowing with milk and honey. It's going to be a beautiful place, a destination that they have yet to see and yet to observe, but God has given them this place to go. But guess what happened? As the journey continued, as the people journeyed through the desert land, and it took year upon year upon year upon year, and the people grumbled, take us back. Not too dissimilar to me and my brother sat down scheming about telling my parents to take us back to that land that we used to know. And yes, it was a land filled with pain and hard work and punishment and a lack of food and nutrition, but take us back there. Why? Because it's what we know. It's our safety, it's our security, it's something that we understand. Take us back, because that's where we'd rather be than here. But you know what God did every single time that they grumbled, every single time that they moaned? Let's think about two things. One, they groaned, we are hungry. We could go back to, they even said to Moses, you were taking us out to the desert to starve us. We could have food whenever we wanted under the rule of Pharaoh. Which wasn't exactly entirely true, because they were worked hard as slaves, but their minds twisted the old narrative and said, we were fed well, take us out of this desert place. But you know what? God heard their cries. And we read in the scripture that manna fell from heaven. Manna is just bread. And it fell from heaven, and enough food, enough manna fell to the ground for them to have enough to eat and more. They then grumbled some more. They're walking through the desert. We are thirsty. You're taking us out here to kill us, Moses. What are you doing? Well, God spoke to Moses. He said, take the staff that's in your hand, strike the rock. And water gushed out of the rock, and there was enough water for all the people to have enough to drink. You see, God heard their cries. God provided in their place of need. You know, friends, I don't know about you. I don't know what your situation is like right now. I don't know what moment this video finds you in as you're watching this. I don't know if life is filled with hard challenges, if there's been multiple changes in your life. Maybe you've started a new place of education. Maybe you've got a different teacher. My son's just gone into P2, and this week, first day in, he was excited, he was up, he was ready to go on day one because he was going back to see his old teachers. He was up before we were up. He was dressed, he was ready, he had his shoes on, he got to school, he ran in the doors, he was excited. Day 2 came round and he was going to a new classroom, to a new teacher, and you know what he did as soon as we got to the school playground? He hid behind me and he cried because it was unknown. It was a situation that he was afraid of. I don't know if you're facing a situation right now that you are scared of, that you're afraid of. Maybe someone has spoken words over you that is just drowning out any semblance of who you are, and it's telling you that you are not worth something, that you are not valued, that you are not loved. I don't know if you are hearing this today, and there is something in your spirit which is just dying inside because you are entering into a season that is unknown, unfamiliar territory. You see, Moses was leading the people through the desert into this wilderness place, and they were scared and they wanted to go back to what was familiar. You know, maybe you've got a situation right now where relationships have gone sour, maybe with friends or family. Maybe you are entering into a situation where over the last few months, as you know, we've gone through this coronavirus thing and the pandemic's just been going on, and you're filled with worry and anxiety about what things look like, and you're saying, I wish things were like they used to be. Take me back. Is that you today? Is your identity wrapped up in who you used to be before everything began to change, and right now you're looking ahead to what's coming and you're like, I just don't understand and I can't grasp what this means? I want you to know today that there is a God who sees you and there's a God who knows you. You know what happened with Moses in this story? As soon as God began to speak those words over him, you are going to be the one who's going to set these people free. Moses said to him, who am I? Who am I to do this? Who am I? Why would you choose someone like me? And he even went on and said, I don't have a voice that could possibly begin to speak to Pharaoh. Have you heard me speak? I stutter and I stumble over words. Who am I to stand before kings? But you know what happened? God gave him what he needed. And he brought someone alongside him, a man named Aaron, and said, this will be a man who has a strong voice who can speak on your behalf. You see, God is one who sees you and he hears you. He hears the cries of your hearts. Friends, today, maybe as you're hearing this, as you're watching this, I ask of you to take a moment and just bring before God. Maybe you know him, maybe you don't. Maybe you've just got things going on in your head which are just wrapping you up in places of worry and anxiety and fear. Bring that before God. Why? Because he hears the cries of your hearts. He hears what you need. He gave Moses Aaron. And he said he's going to walk with you and he can be your mouthpiece. Friends, there are people who will gather around you and show you love, care, and affection in ways that you may never have known. But speak out. Don't be silent. Don't allow your silence to make people think that you're okay. Speak up. Let people know what's going on in your heart today. God heard Moses' cries. God sees you, he hears you, and he cares for you. God's love is there for you. Friends, I want you to know that today. May that carry you as you look back to where you've been and as you look ahead to what's ahead. God is with you in all seasons, in all the changes and ebbs and flows of life, in the highs and in the lows. God sees you, he knows you, and he loves you. Hey, grace and peace to you today. May you know that and may you carry that with you into your today and into your tomorrows.